So this is an episode of Parks' Perspective that I've been tossing up about making for a while now, because I'm going to share, a side of my journey or my recovery, or a side of me that many people may not know of or may not have expected, given the trajectory that my recovery took. But what I want to share with you in this episode is actually probably one of the most important lessons I feel I've learnt from my own recovery and journey. But it's also one of the key messages I try and pass on to each and every group that I talk to, especially school groups and groups containing a lot of young people. So although I'm a little bit nervous to see how this goes, I'm hoping that by sharing it with you in this episode, that you'll get some benefit out of it as well. So the perspective I want to share with you in this episode is simple. It is okay. First and foremost, it is okay to have fears, doubts, concerns, and worries. Life is certainly not predictable, and I've certainly found in my experience that there's always going to be something that crops up here or there that causes you to feel these things at some point in time. But it's important that you know that it's okay to feel these things. And I think now is a good time to talk about it, especially given everything we're facing in 2020 and the current situation, especially with all the uncertainty. It's okay to feel this way. And we're seeing a huge increase in this awareness for mental health, but also in this idea that it is okay to not be okay. And that's something I 100% agree with. Throughout my own recovery and rehabilitation, there were countless times where I was struggling and I probably wasn't feeling 100% okay. But in those times, I'd try and put on a brave face. I'd try and push on, keep going with whatever I was doing. And at times, I almost felt like I had this obligation I was placing on myself that I had to be strong. I was incredibly fortunate to be surrounded by so many amazing people who were all being strong and incredibly supportive for me. And that in turn almost led to me putting an obligation on myself that I had to be strong for them, to return the favour and to help them when they needed it too. There were also countless times throughout my journey where I was facing incredible frustrations, either by facing challenges or by feeling just frustrated about the situation or everything that was going on. And there were plenty of times too where I felt almost this sense of shame or disappointment in myself for the countless times that I would retreat to my room at night behind closed doors and just have tears silently rolling down my cheeks. So I've learned that it's okay to not be okay, and actually knowing and acknowledging that really lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. Also, I want you to know, particularly if you're a young person like me, that it's okay to not have everything planned out. It's okay to not know what the future holds or what you're going to do next. Especially in times like we face at the moment with such incredible uncertainty, no one really knows what's going to happen. And at times I struggled with the fact, especially after my accident, I struggled with the fact that I didn't know what the future held for me or what I was going to do, what could I do in the future. There I was, I felt like I had everything figured out. I had this awesome plan. I'd been accepted into the Air Force. My career was laid out in front of me. I was going to have an amazing career as a military pilot. And then life threw me a curveball and I found myself trapped under a bus suffering horrendous injuries. And initially, like I said, I struggled with that uncertainty of, well, what does this mean? What do I do now? What's my future going to look like? I had this incredible plan. I had it all figured out. And then suddenly all that was gone. And I struggled with that initially, but I've come to learn that it's okay to not have everything planned out. It's okay to not know what the future holds and that no one really expects you to know right here, right now, exactly what the future holds for you. But I think it's probably most important that you know that it is okay. It is absolutely 100% okay to ask for help. Throughout my journey, there were plenty of times where I probably worried about seeking help, be it asking a mate for a chat or through to seeking higher levels of support. And for me, it was probably a combination of embarrassment or even a fear of burdening other people with my problems. But one of the biggest things I've learnt and come to know is that it is absolutely okay to seek help. Now, I want to share with you some of my perspectives on asking for help in a later episode, but in this episode, I just really want you to know that it is okay to ask for help. Never be ashamed of asking for help. Lastly, I want you to know that it is okay to fail. If there's one thing I did more than anything else in my entire recovery, it was failing. But what that really taught me was that that's okay. It's okay to fail. But once you fail, you must become determined. You must reset, and you absolutely must try again. As the common saying goes, you only really fail when you give up. And in this regard, I tend to agree. So there you have it, the perspective for this episode. It is okay. Now, I know there's probably some of you out there thinking that that's just common sense, it's cliche, everyone knows that. But I think it's a simple yet powerful message that we all need reminding of from time to time. In my experience, I always found that acknowledging and reminding myself that it's okay always seemed to take a bit of pressure off, made things just that little bit easier as well, regardless of the challenge I was facing. So the key takeaway for this message is that it's okay. Thanks for watching this episode of Parks' Perspectives. I hope it was of some value and you got something out of it. Do you have something you'd like to get some help with, or perhaps get my perspective on? If you do, please feel free to reach out through my social media or through the comments below, and I'll see what I can come up with. Thanks again, and I'll catch you in the next episode.